Good evening, everybody. You are extremely welcome and thank you for joining our webinar this evening. My name is Maeve Houlihan. I'm Director of the UCD Quinn School of Business. And this session is all about one of our fantastic degrees, the Bachelor of Business and Law. So I'm delighted that you've decided to join us. What we've decided to do is create a fairly informal session just now. A lot of our materials are available for you to consult in full online, a detailed discussion of the programme. So we have the opportunity this evening instead to have a more informal discussion. We'll give you a brief outline and then introduce the team. So you're extremely welcome, as I say, and I think as we settle in, I can see that each of our panelists is just getting ready now to turn on their lights. I'll just tell you to turn on their screens, but I'll just tell you who we have joining us this evening. And you know, business and law, one of the wonderful things about it, just as you look at that screen there, you'll see a little bit of the latest iteration of the UCD Quinn School of Business and the new Moore wing, and the Sutherland School of Law. The wonderful law school is our near neighbour and very dear friend. So one of the wonderful things about the business and law degree is that really and truly it is one of the most beautifully accommodated programs, I would say, in any university anywhere. So our panel this evening, I'm really delighted to be joined by the co-directors of the programme. From the business side, Dr. Orla Byrne. And Orla's area of speciality is entrepreneurship. And Orla's going to speak in shortly just to give you an initial sense of the programme. And the co-director from the law school, Paul Ward, who is a fantastic presence in the school, and you'll certainly get a sense of that when you meet Paul shortly. We're really thrilled as well to be joined today by Margaret Meyer, who is the programme manager for the school, and for any student of the programme, very much somebody that they keep close to their hearts and always want to know with the answers to all questions. And finally, I'm really thrilled that we're joined by one of our senior students, Rory Clark. Rory is also a student ambassador for the school and for UCD. So Rory often speaks at events like this, and Rory, it's one of many aspects of Rory's involvement in the community at UCD. He may tell you more about that. So colleagues, I know that you have, you're turning cameras on there as we speak, and we'll begin. Perhaps I could ask Orla to take us, to speak to us first, Orla.
Hi there, very welcome to this evening's session. We're delighted to tell you a little bit more about the degree. So first question you might have is, well, why should I choose BNL at UCD? So in a nutshell, this is a descriptor of it. It's what does it involve? It's a 4-year degree program, and it's slightly magical in terms of combining both law and business. So it has that, it contains great diversity within it by that very fact. And it gives great flexibility as well. So if you take on the degree, the first 3 years, you'll be studying both law and business in equal measures. So you won't need to specify, or you won't need to decide which route you'd prefer to go down until year 4. Then as part of the degree as well, there's an optional international exchange system, and there's many universities that we have partnered with overseas, and there's different requirements, etc. you can complete in order to be eligible for that. And then our graduates, well, what do they leave with? Well, really, we're looking at a really attractive skills base where you're uniquely equipped with both these analytical and advocacy skills that you'll certainly get from your law side. And then we have this numeracy, financial and managerial literacy as well that you'll gain from studying the business subjects. And then, yeah, what will you be covering over all that time? So you'll have core options and option modules. So your core, they're fixed modules that you have no choice in. And then your option is where you get to specialize in the areas that you're most interested in yourself. So from the business side, all of your modules stem from our 6 disciplines within the College of Business, including banking and finance, marketing, HRM, management, accountancy, and MIS. And these are a range of the different modules that come that we offer in the College of Business. So as I said, your core ones, they're given, everybody studies those, and then the options, you get to choose those as you go. Then Maeve, sorry, the next slide, yeah, is, oh, and the law module, sorry, Paul, this is where Paul can help us out with the law side. Not sure if Paul is there. So as you'll see, these are the same again. Oh, there's Paul. Hi, Paul, sorry.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to talk to you this evening. I'm here as the director of the Business and Law Programme in the Sutherland School of Law. Just to give you a quick overview of the law side of the programme. Like the business side, we have core law modules that you must take, and indeed these modules are also reflected in the entrance exams to King's Inns and Blackhall Place. So you get to cover these modules in advance of taking them professionally. And these run mainly in years 1 and 2. And then when you get to years 3 and 4, the options open up. So for the first 2 years, it's 3 law, 3 business. And then years 4, you can really explore the optional modules, and you can construct the degree you want to construct or have leaving the university. So you might want to go down a very serious business law related subjects, or you might want a broad spread of legal experience doing things like human rights or say family law, one of my modules. So that's the makeup of the degree over the 4-year period. You take 6 modules per semester over the 4 years. And then when you're finished with us, there are careers that you might be interested in, which is the next slide on the presentation. You can see the first 2 there, the traditional avenues of becoming a barrister or solicitor on the law side, and then accountancy and tax consultancy, mainstream careers on the business side. But it's not limited to that. There's a lot of things. Anything that involves regulation will give you employment chances. So that could be banking, insurance. Some go into the civil service. Virtually everybody in the Department of Foreign Affairs is a lawyer or has a law degree, or you might go into further research and PhD and graduate study at 3rd level, as many of us here in UCD have done ourselves. So there's a wide range of options open to you and a lot of flexibility associated with the degree, mainly due to its unique dual discipline aspect of both business and law. So that's just a quick, brief overview for you. I hope you find it helpful and informative.
Maeve, you're on.
Thank you so much, everybody. So taking the slides off now and introducing everybody to camera, we have, I suppose, a chance to ask some questions. And I'd like to invite the audience, if you would like to ask a question, please feel free to use the Q&A box, which you'll be able to see there. You won't see other people's questions, that just with the way that a webinar works. We'll be able to see them though, and we'll answer them directly here on the panel. So please feel free. But it's lovely to hear, I guess, the outline from both Orla and Paul. And I guess, you know, just speaking more frankly, if there's something that you're particularly proud of the program, or that you really feel is its best feature, what would that be? Paul, what would you think about? And just unmuting there, Paul.
Hi, thanks, Maeve. What I like about it, having thought about this over the years, is the unique opportunity to select a business module that has a corresponding theme in law. So, for example, everybody takes accounting, but why not marry that with tax law, where you see the whole picture from both the business and the law side? Or another simple example is human resources. The obvious one to take would be employment law, and you would get an extraordinary education from both sides and both disciplines in that respect, essentially marrying like with like modules from the two different codes.
Yeah, and I just like to add to that as well, Maeve. So what I've noticed from teaching students from BNL over a number of years, you really see critical thinking skills, analytical skills, and this ability to join the dots and to step back from the material that we're covering, from the readings that they're doing, and ask really, really intelligent questions. So I think the diversity of the degree and the breadth of content and the type of content that's covered really equips the students as fantastic graduates. I mean, if I was employing and hiring, I definitely would hire someone with this background, because they're able to do the business, they're able to do all the kind of management and understand the business side, but then having that legal background as well, it's such a rigorous training. It's highly transferable.
So it's great range. And it was a great time to bring in Rory, actually, if we could. Rory, what do you think? So Rory is a current student of the program. What is it that you like about this program?
I think it's probably what's been touched on so far. It's kind of the dual element of it. It's kind of my favorite thing. It was what made me choose it to begin with. I was always jealous of the people who just knew what they wanted to do from seems like when they were 2 years old, they wanted to be a doctor or they wanted to be a physicist. I was never one of them. I was always kind of jealous of them. So in fifth year, sixth year, when I was starting to think about it, I kind of wanted to become a lawyer. I'd always been told I was argumentative. Not sure about that, but anyway. But I really liked accounting as well. And I didn't want to kind of either give either of them up. And then I thought I would have to. And then the moment I started looking into it, you see that business and law is right there, and that's the option for you. And you speak to so many business and law students, and all of us are pretty much the same. It's like we had more of a broad interest field, and business and law kind of ticks all the boxes for us. And even now, I'm at final year now, and I'm still doing both business and law modules, still enjoying both of them. Still, as Paul said, kind of allowing each to inform each other. So last semester, I did a tax module in the business school, tax and society, and then I did revenue law as well at the same time. And the amount of crossover and how much I could save myself studying is one way of looking at it, but almost it's just a greater analytical perspective on it. I just found it really valuable, and I think most BNL graduates would agree on that.
Well, that makes sense to me. And I'm thinking, Margaret, as I see you there, when you think of a BNL, because you deal with this, our students day in, day out, do you think of anything in particular as the personality of the BNL student, Margaret?
So from my point of view, I see with the students that I suppose they're so well prepared from the legal side, from a writing point of view, yet they have all the analytical skills from a business point of view, that those two skill sets that are developed over the years are just fantastic. And as Paul said, the opportunities for them to go where to go with that skill set that they have are just enormous. And it always amazes me the different areas that students go into eventually, things you couldn't predict, as I said. But it seems to be a very good program that develops the students from two completely different areas. Now, it's challenging, but most students enjoy it. Most students really enjoy it.
Yes. So that's the business that we're in. I think as a school, we believe we're very proud of all of our programs, and our real passion is helping you find the right program for you, because that means you're going to thrive. So it's wonderful to see loads of questions coming up here, and we'll pick into a few of them. I was just going to say that along with everything that's been said, the thing that I'm really proud of, well, I've already mentioned the wonderful spaces that both the Sutherland School and the Quinn School are, because they really are special spaces. But the other thing is, a bit like Orla, I think that what I find with business and law students is that they really have a wide mindset. I talk often about a sociological imagination, and they're people who are interested in the world and know what's going on. So that might be you. Now, there's some questions there. We'll just pick them up as we go. The employability rate, well, we do find that there's very strong employment out of the programme. You've seen some of the jobs mentioned, but most of our students would find that they certainly would be, if in their chosen fields, would have no difficulty finding work. The majority of our students go straight into employment or on to further study. And when I say majority, I mean the 90% of our students do that. Okay. Now there's some features of the program, of course, things like study abroad and opportunities such as that. So colleagues, do you think that it is important to do study abroad as part of a degree like business and law? I mean, it's a different type of degree with a very full agenda. So it doesn't give you, say, the things like the internship and other things necessarily that we see in other programs. So what are your thoughts on that? Give me a nod if you'd like to pick that one up.
I'll jump in there, Maeve.
Yeah.
It's a unique opportunity to broaden your educational base.
Yeah.
It enables you to perhaps develop a language if you go to a European country. It also exposes you to a different legal system, and that's very good to reflect on how our system works. So we actively encourage our students to avail of the exchange program. Just one thing that is important to know, I'm not being negative about the program, but by comparison with law students, where you can go can be limited. And the second point about exchange programs is you can only go for one semester, whereas you'll find that law students go for a full year. So just bear that in mind in making your choice. Do go on this exchange. Students find it deeply rewarding in every sense of the word, educationally, socially, emotionally. It's very, very good for you. And it's actually what employers are looking for. They're looking for the ones that have been brave enough to take the challenge to study outside of their own domestic environment. And it says a lot about you as a person, not so much what you've learned there, but what kind of person you are. So that's why we encourage the exchange programs.
And just to build on Paul's points there as well, just to mention, it's a lot of fun. It is great fun as well. So it's a lovely time. If you're able to do it at all throughout whatever degree you choose, even if it's not BNL, I'd definitely look into it, because it's such a lovely opportunity for your life, and you'll always look back on it fondly as well. So we'd plug it as much as possible. Yeah.
There's an interesting question there. If you don't end up liking the law part, or one could imagine the business part, can you swap? Can you swap into a law degree or a commerce degree?
It's not very straightforward, but it is possible. But you will probably lose out on a semester or two, having to do a semester or two extra, because while you address all the principal modules of business and all the principal modules of law, there are some that you're missing that either pure law students or pure business students will have done, and you'll have to catch up on those. So that's, and again, it's points, etc., etc. The points are quite high. There were 545 last year. I'm sorry to mention that now, but unfortunately, that's a reality. So there's a lot of factors involved, but if you're not happy, you should come and talk to us. That's the main thing. Yeah, definitely. Come and talk to us.
So it's not a degree to kind of go into thinking that thought. But if you find you're in the wrong program, we always want to talk with you about that and find solutions. But it's a really unusual thing to choose to do a joint degree. That's essentially what you're doing, a joint degree. It makes you very distinctive and it gives you a lot of choice. So I do see a lot of questions in the text box around the careers piece. How many people become lawyers, barristers, solicitors? Can you get exemptions for accountancy and so on? And so let's get a bit more specific on the career side. And by the way, just to mention, there'll be a career session later on at 7 if you would like to tune into that as well. But yeah, so you do with both our business degrees and law degrees, you do, the basic accounting subjects. Would anybody like to comment on exemptions?
Yeah, you can, by choosing the right modules in final year, as Paul and Orla said, you have options in final year. you can pick up all of the modules required to get your CAP 1 exemptions. Also, with the core modules in law, you cover all of the modules that should be examined in for the FE1s. So you have those options there for you, depending. I would generally see that about 50% of the students still straddle business and law evenly in final year. There are some students who are very definite, they want to go the law route, and you can see that. Others who are very definite about the business route, because again, by final year, they've seen where their strengths lie and they know where they want to go. But by keeping the 50-50 split in final year, it keeps their options open. They have the exemptions in accountancy if they want them. There are many students who find that accountancy is not for them, and once they've completed the required ones, they don't go near them again, and that's fine as well. But we would always say to students that you need to have covered the basics in business, regardless of whether you're going into law or business, because at some stage you'll be managing a budget or you'll be something, and you'll need to know the terminology. And of course, the law modules, like the modules, as Paul said, that you can cover, even if you're going the business side, like you've revenue law, tax law, everything, that employment law, contract law, company law, that will all be of an advantage to you going into the business side. So I know that's not specific about what careers where, but it gives you a good idea that it keeps it all very open for you.
And funny, somebody mentioned earlier, you know, what type of careers do people go into, and you'd be surprised how rangy they are. I mean, some of the careers we've mentioned from our alumni that we're so proud of are entrepreneurs. You mentioned Colm Harmon from 3FE, and then also with a film director graduate. So that just gives you a sense of, you know, it's a degree that sets you up with many, many avenues besides the core specialisms. Now, Rory, there's a question for you there. You were uncertain of what you wanted to do in the past, and do you find the course opened your mind or helped you pinpoint exactly?
I would say it definitely opened my mind. As I said earlier, it's like I came in, my favorite subject was accounting for the Leaving Cert. I was really choosing law just to almost a backup choice. I was fairly confident I was going to become an accountant. Fairly confident that was going to be my life. And after 2 years of business and law, I'd only done one business module in accounting. But at that point already, I was like, I couldn't not do law again, or I couldn't just become an accountant off that back. So it was something which I never would have considered doing. And what I actually find really valuable, and this is something to know about the business and law program generally, and some people don't like it, but I quite like it, is that for your first couple of years, you don't have a lot of choice in terms of your modules. So you're kind of forced, some would say forced, the modules are chosen for you. But what I quite liked about that was I was always indecisive. So this was a good idea for me because other people who are like me liked these modules and needed these modules, and it opens your mind to things that you never would have chosen yourself. So I never would have chosen, for example, I had a marketing module in second year that I never would have chosen myself, but I actually really enjoyed it. And then on the law side, I had an EU constitutional module that I never would have chosen, but I really liked it as well. And I'm doing kind of advanced versions of both of them now, and would maybe want to consider doing them afterwards. So I would find that it really, really opens your mind. That's kind of what's the main benefit of business and law, as I said, is it gives you so many options, and it introduces you to so many different topics in the first couple of years. And then as you go into third and fourth year and you start to realize what you might like a bit more, you can actually choose those modules, the next level modules for each of those topics. So you can kind of specialize and kind of make your own degree. And even as I say, I'm in my final semester of UCD. If I look around on my friend group, we're all doing really, really different modules, but the theme of our own degrees is very, very similar, and it's very, very consistent in the last 2 years, what we've all kind of pursued, even on specific law modules, specific business modules, it's very coherent. So yeah, I would say it definitely opens your mind.
That's fantastic. We love that idea. It's the idea of my UCD, that you make your degree within the pathway that's there. And Rory, you mentioned that you had loved accounting at school, I think. There was a question, and there always is this question about, does it matter if I haven't done it previously? And we would always say, no, it doesn't. But you've really witnessed people who've gone through it. What would your advice be?
Yeah, I would say it really, really doesn't matter. And we say this at events all the time. If you've done accounting for the Leaving Cert, you'll probably have an advantage for about 3 weeks in your first module of accounting. And after that, it's a different course and the course moves differently. It's not designed to make you learn off certain formulas, certain ways of doing accounting. That's not what they're trying to teach you. So the kind of head start that people think that Leaving Certs gives them in accounting, it does exist, but it is nowhere near what people think it is. And if you kind of avail of the supports that all the modules kind of give to you, because they deliberately started off from the ground up, from the basics, so that everyone is getting up to the same level before they take it to a more advanced level. So they really do take it slowly to start and they build it up kind of incrementally. And there's so many supports within the schools. There's like drop-in centers in the library for, there's a maths drop-in center that kind of specializes basically. And one of the tutors was telling me a couple of years ago that in like week 8 of semester 2, he always gets accounting students from the same module, because people who haven't done it from Leaving Cert come in with very similar questions, and he's more than willing to help them out. And that would be the same within like the tutor groups in the modules themselves. So you might have to work a little bit harder as someone who hasn't done it for Leaving Cert for the first few weeks, but the advantage slips away very, very fast. Yeah. You don't get to sleep easy for long.
So it's designed, I suppose there's a lot of long years of experience in the lecturing teams across the program, and they cater specifically for the fact that some people will have done accounting and some won't. Now, I do see a question there. If you're not into accounting and maths, should you do this degree? And I think, you do need to have a tolerance for them. Would that be the consensus?
Yeah, and I think if you're studying any business degree, if you're interested in business in general, it doesn't matter where you study business. If it's with us, if it's in an Institute of Technology, if it's a PLC, regardless, you're going to cover maths and accounting as part of a business degree. It wouldn't really be a business degree if it didn't. So I think if you're on the fence about maths and accounting, just have a think and ask yourself, is business for you? Perhaps you would prefer to do pure law. And in that case, that could be another option. But any business degree is going to have a combination of those. And the idea is that you graduate with a balanced perspective and understanding of business, which is very difficult unless you look at those areas.
Okay. I also see, can this course, on the other hand, be too broad? Could you be left kind of somewhere in the middle rather than doing a business degree or a law degree?
Yeah, and that's something you have to figure out for yourself as well. So are you somebody who's comfortable with a bit of uncertainty, with a bit of wriggle room for you to figure out things as you go? Or are you someone like Rory, who you have these interests and you're trying to figure out your position in it? And you're trying, I think as well, what a degree does is it gives you a basis, and it's what you do with your degree then that defines you more so. So and a degree is also, a bachelor's degree is also just a wonderful opportunity to study what you're interested in, regardless almost of the discipline. So if you're someone like Rory who is interested in both the legal side and the law side, well, why not study both? Give yourself the every best opportunity to be equipped on both of those, because your bachelor's degree is where you can do that, where you specialize and narrow, then can become your postgraduate. And most people do that. They'll have a general primary degree and a more specialized postgraduate life. So with that in mind, I think yourself. Try and figure out if you're someone who likes a little bit more certainty upfront and you're more definitive and more decisive about it, then perhaps that dual degree mightn't be for you.
There's an interesting question here from Iman, which is, how does business and law compare to other dual degrees? And, our other dual degree is we've two actually, would be the BCom International. So that's business and languages, or languages and culture. And then our economics and finance degree. And both, I suppose, comparing the first two, firstly, a dual degree tends to be longer. So those are 4-year degrees in order to accommodate the full range of subjects. Obviously, with the BCom International, a key component is studying abroad in the language for a year. With the business and law degree, it's an intensive to cover all the material. Rory mentioned you get less choice in order to cover both curricula. So that's a big difference. But colleagues, would you say there's any other comparisons you might think about dual degrees in general? I mean, they are unusual to start with dual degrees. So
can I just jump in again, Maeve? From my experience of having a dual degree, it's been a conversation opener in interviews. It jumps off the page because it's not run of the mill, and people see it and they kind of think, oh, this is different. Tell me about this. And even years later, when, you know, I've gone on and done loads since my primary degree, it still is a point of interest in interviews. So if you're, but I was always somebody who didn't fit neatly into one box. I wasn't particularly strong, more in one area than others. I had a broad range of interests, and doing a double degree matched my interests because it stimulated me differently and kept me energized throughout my degree. And I think had I narrowed down too soon in my career, I would have felt very pigeonholed or a little bit confined. So it allowed me space to develop me and my own abilities and my own interests. So that was the main benefit for me.
It's lovely to hear those comments. And I think overall, the picture we're giving you is that it's a very rich and broad, and you can tailor and specialize, but you will have a wide range of interests. I mentioned that Rory's involved in other societies. Rory, do you want to talk about that very briefly? I know you sometimes mention.
No problem. So when I came into UCD, when everyone comes into UCD, one of the first things they do is go to the Freshers Tent, where some of UCD's 80 societies, 80 plus societies and 60 plus sports club will try and convince you to join. The problem is people often ask, will there be something for me? The problem is often the inverse, that you don't have enough time for all the things that there could be for you. So for me, one of my other favorite subjects in school was history. So I joined the History Society my first day. And then I got really involved with that society for 3 years. I ended up running it last year, and I went away with them 3 times. We went to Latvia, we went to Portugal, we went to Romania, all basically paid for by UCD. I think I paid €20 for one of those trips, and it was like 4 days long. So I've made so many friends off that. I've also written for the paper for 3 or 4 years. I was in charge of the badminton club for a few years. So yeah, what I would say and everyone who's involved in societies would say this, is like, it's a great opportunity to meet new people outside of your degree. And that's one of the best things about having like an on-campus or just a general, obviously we're not on campus at the moment, like a holistic university experience, in that you'll have your bubble in your own school and in your own degree. But if you go to sports clubs, go to societies, go to various events, you'll start to build bubbles across campus. And very soon all those bubbles will intersect and the campus will actually become a very small place. And it'll start to feel like somewhere where you can walk up and down and recognize people everywhere. And it does happen, and it happens to people very easily. And so yeah, I would very much recommend getting involved in whatever society pitches to you very well, really.
That's a great testament, Rory. And, you know, also, as I mentioned, Rory is a student ambassador, so you work at times for the college at events like this. So I'm just imagining how busy you are, Rory. So definitely go to Rory for time management tips as well. I see a few law questions coming in, so I might turn to Paul on this. There was mention about, I suppose, the careers people go on to. For example, do people tend to get enough from the law, a BBL degree, to go into law in other countries, other jurisdictions? And also a question about, I think, criminology. Let me go back and find that. But Paul, would you talk a bit, because we've been talking a bit about the accounting side, just about the piece around the sort of next steps out of law, out of the BBL on the legal side?
Sure, yeah. Bear in mind that the degree you get is a stepping stone, and that you will have to go on to professionally qualify, which means further study. So it is your foundation stone. And in that regard, the law degree side of it is constructed with a view to enabling you to qualify either as a barrister or a solicitor here. And currently in the UK, we're the only law school recognised, the only Irish law school recognised by the UK Regulatory Authority for solicitors. So you can also qualify in England, provided you take the right subjects as part of your programme. You have that incredible flexibility to go down either branch of the profession, be a solicitor or a barrister, or indeed to qualify overseas. It's also recognised in the relevant states in the United States for the purposes of taking the state bar exams in what we call common law jurisdiction states like New York and Massachusetts, by way of example. So graduates have gone on to qualify as US attorneys. So there's a wide range of legal career paths open to you. And with Brexit and the UK gone, we are now the largest common law jurisdiction in Europe. And that means we will be influencers in the future development of European law, because European law is essentially a blend of the common law and civil law systems. So from the legal side, it's a very, very important role that we're going to be playing into the future. And employment is booming on the legal side here in Dublin. Every law firm in the UK worth its salt is trying to get a foot in here in Dublin so that they don't lose access to the European markets in terms of legal services. So from a law perspective, it's never been a better time.
Very interesting. There's a question here. What's the Law Society like? I'm not sure if they mean the UCD Law Society or the Law Society.
That's the Law Society of Ireland, the Law Society that regulates the solicitor's profession in this country. They're a separate legal entity to the law schools, and they're the ones that set the standards for admission to the profession of solicitor. And likewise, the King's Inns regulates admission to become a barrister and the standards associated with that as well.
Okay, now Margaret, I might ask you, there's a couple of questions about alternative entry routes, for example, through second year, and sometimes those can be quite specific. So always feel free to contact us about that. But for example, as a mature student or a DARE student, or indeed if you had a need for supports while you're a student with us and if you were struggling. Margaret, would you have any general comments that you might like to make there?
Yeah, there is. Regularly, we would have, especially on the pure law side, but also in BNL, we would have students there's a FETAC entry route, mature student entry route, access, DARE, here. We would see students here, I should say. We would see students from all entry routes right across the board. So I would definitely contact the relevant people involved. There's information on the website, or to contact me about the FETAC entry route, and it's there on the UCD website, exactly what PLC courses you need to do in order to be eligible for entry into first year. And this is entry into first year of the program.
Okay. And so personal statements and so on, yes, it's probably it's better to get specific advice on that, but
because they're all slightly different, the entry routes, but they are there, and explore them. Ask your career guidance teacher, ask anybody, go onto the UCD website and Google it, and you'll find contact details there. They're definitely available.
Okay, now we're coming to the last few minutes of our session here. We will wrap just around 1:45. So I just wanted to, I suppose, pick up on the question of supports. There really are a lot of supports for students in UCD on all ranges. So there's been mention made of the Math Support Centre. We have an academic writing specialist in the business school as well. And then on other fronts, economic support. We have a wonderful student advisor, and obviously our program academic advisors and our program managers are very good sources of advice for all of the practical issues to do with just navigating university life. So one thing I can be really clear about is there's loads of support, and we want you to talk to us very actively if you ever felt you were studying. Rory, they're persistent with these questions. There's another question for you there. Did you feel, since you love history so much, that actually you were sorry you didn't stick with history?
Yeah, I think I was chatting to this person there as well. I was just saying that, and I'll say it again, one of the things that's nice about studying through a society, and this particularly applies for languages, I should say studying in more of a loose way, is that you can kind of just enjoy the subject without having to kind of worry about an exam in it or what the assignment is and you have to learn off certain things. So for example, I lived in France for a couple of years before this, so when I came in I also went to the French Society, so just to kind of speak in French, to keep up my French, and that was a really nice way to kind of maintain a language and something I was interested in, without having to actually study it. And I know a lot of people who do that. And it was kind of the same with history, in that I did consider doing law with history and just a history degree by itself. But in the end of the day, I chose BNL, and then it was kind of the other option that I could always just go to the History Society and just kind of enjoy the history as a kind of a enjoyable thing, rather than something I had to kind of worry about as an exam subject.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, can I just jump in there? Just it's a little known fact, but inside every lawyer there is a buried historian, because you have to see the evolution of law to appreciate it in its currency. So if you don't see where it's come from, you don't understand what it means in a current day context. So all lawyers are basically closet historians.
We'll certainly echo that. And I'd say all business people are, they're problem solvers at heart. They're interested in spotting challenges and problems and thinking, how can we solve those? What can we do? So there is one last one there. I noticed in particular on specific needs, just a question about if you had, for example, vision or other challenges, then absolutely there's very strong support in UCD through our all program. That's our access to lifelong learning. And so what you would do is have a consultation with all, and then you will be we will work very closely with you from there. But never hesitate to have a specific discussion with colleagues at UCD. You'll find lots of links to on the website to help you do that. There were several questions about leaving cert, points change. Really, crystal balls are what you require for those to answer those questions. We can't predict. What we do find is that there's always sustained strong demand for our programs. We're very lucky and very proud to attract some of the strongest students in the country and indeed worldwide, because we are very much an international university as well. So that does mean the points tend to be high. We also really prioritize diversity and diverse routes into UCD. So that's why you hear mention of alternative entry paths. So it's always worth looking to see stage 2 entry routes and other routes. However, definitely, the CAO is what it is in the Irish context. So if you can predict that, then, you might have an alternative career. We are delighted that you joined us this evening. I'm particularly appreciative of all of my colleagues here. You've got the best people you possibly could have to answer your questions. And I apologize if we didn't get to your question, but there actually are 2 further sessions on this channel and on the other channel as well that might help you if you do still have questions. So do check them out. You can find out more about the internships and study abroad opportunities. And at 7 o'clock, you can find out more here about the career opportunities. And on the other channel, there's an Ask Me Anything session at 7 o'clock, should you have still burning questions. So from all of us, thank you very much for your interest in the Bachelor of Business and Law. We're very proud of it. I hope you've heard answers and got a sense of why we're proud of it. And we really want you to find the course that's right for you. So keep asking those questions. Thank you very much. And thanks, everybody. Good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.